Namaste, Utsuda, and welcome to Hindu Lounge. Utsuda, this is our episode number 47, and it is a very special episode. So first, let me introduce the what the show is, and then introduce our special guests for the day. Utsava, this is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is brought to you by Hindu PAC, which is the Policy Research and Advocacy Initiative of World Hindu Council of America, that is VHPA. Utsav Chakrabarti Utsava is the Executive Director of Hindu PAC, and with Utsava, I am Ajay Shah. I am the President of World Hindu Council of America, VHPA. And today we have a special show. We usually don't have guests, but this is an unusual show because this is an unusual week. This is the week where, in some ways, a really historic win for Hindus in two places. One in Chicago, where the city council, the utterly Indo-phobic and Hindu-phobic city council resolution in Chicago was actually defeated. And also, this is the week where the New York State Senate decided to drop the bill that would have marked swastika as a hate symbol and taught about it as a hate symbol in the school. So two people who were really instrumental in bringing the Chicago City Council resolution to its demise, and rightfully so, are with us today. And it is a total privilege for us to have both of them online. And I will introduce both of them in a minute. And Utsara, please give your introductory remark, and then we'll bring our guests in. With us today, Dr. Bharat Barai. Dr. Barai is probably one of the most prominent Indian Americans, Hindu Americans, who has been associated with Hindu organizations across the country, all different kind of Hindu organizations. And he is an oncologist. He heads up a cancer center in Indiana. And he is also, I remember Dr. Barai was also, one of the key organizers when we did the Global Vision 2000 conference in 1993. And maybe even before that, Dr. Barai has been doing all the Hindu activities and has been associated with VHPA. He was also key to bringing the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to US. I believe Prime Minister Modi stayed with him in 1993 when he came here to the VHPA program. I am very active in the Hindu community in the Chicago area. Also with us is Amitabh Mittalji. Amitabhji is the General Secretary of VHP America. I had the privilege of knowing Amitabhji, from my Hindu Students Council days. So I believe he joined Hindu Students Council in 1991-92 timeframe. Just a couple of years after we started Hindu Students Council, our first meeting being in '89. So Amitabhji was key to organizing the World Hindu Congress. And today he is with us. He was on the ground in Chicago. Many people who have followed the Chicago resolution probably saw his pictures holding the placard in Chicago City and other places. Right. So very active. Great to have both of them here. So I turned you over for your introductory remark, and then maybe you can initiate. You can give a little bit of background on the topic, and then ask questions of our special guest today. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Ajay Bhai, and thank you for the introductory remark. I think you left little for me to introduce from here onwards, but thank you very much. And see, what has been fascinating in Chicago is that this is for one of the first times when the Hindu community ran a grassroots campaign to defeat what was clearly anti-Hindu and anti-India resolution based on complete misinformation and vile untruths. And the fact that such a grassroots effort could succeed after almost a year and a half of failed efforts from the Hindu community to educate other city councils. This thing happened in other parts of America. It happened in Seattle. It happened in San Francisco. It happened in Minneapolis. So the fact that this was a stark different response from the community, and it was able to educate people, is something that needs to be looked at. And that is why we are here today, and we have the leaders that made it possible. So Dr. Barai and Amitabh Mittalji did a fantastic job. And I must commend that there were other members in the community who stood behind them and stood hand in hand with them to make this happen. And not just the Hindu community. There was a coalition of many other communities as well that came in to stand up for truth. So I would start by asking first a question to Dr. Barai. Dr. Barai, when did you first get to know about this resolution, and how did you come to know about it?
We came to know about it sometimes in late July of 2020. We want, depending upon how much time you have for us, we want to share some of the pulse and some of the things that we have learned. Now, clearly, we realize who we are talking to, but we don't want these things to go out too much into the written media, because we don't want to share our toolkits with our opponents.
Absolutely.
It's only for our
I would tell you that this show goes every week on multiple media platforms, including on Tag TV, and it also goes to all the platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Our weekly viewership is about 2,500 to about 2,500 per show. And sometimes it goes over 5,000. With special guests like you, we expect maybe 5 to 7,000 people watching this show around the world.
Okay, how much time you have for me and Amitabh? Pardon?
We have an entire hour for you, sir.
All right. So let me start, and Amitabh can fill in. First, once we knew about it in August, the title of the resolution was "Congratulations to India on its Independence Day," but it was full of poison, hatred for India and Hindus against BJP, against Narendra Modi. So we started a campaign, which was among few friends, and we decided that we need to do something about it. Now, at that time, COVID was going on quite a bit. So normally we would have been able to demonstrate in front of City Hall everywhere, probably 500,000 people, which we had done for CAA, but because of COVID, that was not the appropriate response. Amitabh was able to engage the services of Mr. Joe Moore. So he was not a lobbyist for Narendra Modi or Indian government. I just want to tell you, we, the friends, pitched in the money from our pocket. He is a former alderman, but he was alderman for almost 20 plus years. So he knew everybody. And I have to tell you, retrospectively looking now, this was invaluable piece. To piece together 26 aldermen who will vote against it was a virtually impossible task 2 weeks ago. But Joe Moore played very important role, because many aldermen, if they don't know you or if you don't know them, they are not going to give even an appointment. So somebody being able to reach them to convey our message was a very important part of it. Amitabh, what do you think?
Yes, sir. That is when we initially started in August, and it was we did engage the help of Joe Moore, and rightly said, he is not a lobbyist hired by Indian government or any way, shape, or form. This is our effort. We saw what is coming from other cities, where smaller city councils who were hoodwinked, is the word I use for that, into believing that they're congratulating India, while the hateful comments were made public record in those cities. They're not part of the resolution. This is how the game is being played to demonize Hindu dharma and Hindus in America, is that they will call in and they will leave messages on record now. They're part of the city record that Hindus are butchers in India. Hindus are committing genocide in India on minorities, while the facts facts are far from that. The ground reality is far from that, and that is the reason my personal passion and about defeating this resolution was. And I had we just a group of you mentioned World Hindu Congress, so you mentioned the uh, is a very small but very tight team of core uh, uh, workers or in Chicago that is very passionate when something like this comes along. And it was, I would say, it was activated, and we made sure that this resolution is not going to be given any space in Chicago. It doesn't belong in America, but we will not let it happen in our city. It was our reputation online also, that if it had passed, this is harmful for us for generations. Because what I'm saying is that these people are not, they're drafting these resolutions so uh, craftily, but when they call in, they leave these messages, they become the public record. Imagine 2 or 3 generations down, our grandkids or great grandkids are reading, they're becoming lawyers and doctors, that's what our goals are. And they go through the city council and they read the message and say, oh, I belong to a religion that is murderers, that is committed genocide back in 2020, or from 2014, while this Narendra Modi was ruling India, Hindus were killing all the minorities. And that's a public record. And that's the fear. I don't want our history to be maligned like this and made um, uh, you know um, uh, part of the narrative. So that is the fear. I mean, I'm getting emotional in the head, and so that's why maybe my words are not coming out right. Ajay, you are muted.
I think
Okay.
Ajay bhai, your sound is not coming here, but
Okay, yeah, I was on mute. The famous last words on Amitabh ji. That was so, I think the emotions really come through, and it's so well put. I want to share this with you because really the first indication we got as Hindu Pact was this original resolution, and I'm going to put this up on the screen, and we're not going to obviously read it, but this is voluminous. I mean, this is for people who can, if you can see the screen, this is 10-page resolution. The preamble of this goes up to 3 pages, and it is atrocious, right? What was your first reaction? And we're going to systematically cover this, right? So, what was your first reaction and Dr. Barai's first reaction when this first hit you? I mean, like when you first saw this, because remember, this, at least you had the opportunity to see it in a city like San Francisco. The Hindu phobic forces operated in stealth mode for 7 months. Whereas in your case, at least you guys were vigilant and aware of what is going on, and you found this resolution. What was the first thought that went through your mind when you saw this resolution? And
Ajay
then,
bhai,
yeah,
if you don't mind, let me share with you the whole thing.
Yeah, please.
I serve on the board of director of Methodist hospitals, but even more important, medical licensing board of the state of Indiana now for 22 years. One thing we need to realize, you need emotions, you need the drive, but you also need a very intelligent approach. How do we get the job done? So you start from the reverse angle. How do we get job done? I tell some people who come before the licensing board and give long lectures, I say, guys, one thing you need to realize, there are 7 members of the board, and if you want license, you need 4 out of 7 votes. Same thing we realize here in democracy, whether it is US Congress or US Senate or Chicago City Council, this is not a court of law. Many of the members are politically motivated, donation motivated, whatever you want to call it. So our goal was that they should not get 26 votes out of 50. Okay, you start out with a little bit of reverse engineering. Now, there was some dirty trick played by the mayor on the last day. So you need to know, and Joe Moore and some others were able to educate us. So the law in city of Chicago is that for any resolution to pass, it needs 26 affirmative votes. So if some people did not vote, it doesn't matter. Now, mayor changed the rule on the last day that for non-binding resolution, it needs majority vote of those who are present. And that scared us for a few moments because we had talked to many aldermen and we were going on the preparation that they will not have 26 affirmative votes. That we were very confident. Our mathematics was on the day of morning that they will have about 16 to 18 votes. We'll have probably about 18 to 20 nay votes, and there will be about 12 to 15 who will abstain. And we said that was okay because they will not get majority. But now when the mayor changed the rule of the game, we said, we might end up losing here. But say, it's okay. If that's what happens, that's what happens. Now, let me go back to some educational points that we have learned out of this. And I think that is the message. These resolutions are not the spontaneous movement of Muslims or left wings. This is a well-oiled, well-planned machinery of Council for Islamic American Relations. In every city, they are the ones who have started this. They are the ones who drafted it. They are the ones who secretly, by using fancy title and putting poison, did it. And of course, they have the paid staff. So the paid staff, what they will do, they will call the offices of the aldermen. One day they will call under the name of Muhammad, second day under the name of Ahmad, third day under the name of Shiraz. So it will create an illusion that there were lots and lots of people who are against for this resolution. So like there was a widespread community support. They will include the names of fake organizations which don't even exist on paper. They are not registered. For example, they said there are 26 organizations supporting. Most of them were bogus organizations which did not exist. 120 business, you can go to any Muslim shop and they will say yes. They did not even take consent of it. They simply put the names. So remember, we have to learn how these guys operate, because if you are going to be able to oppose it successfully in future in other cities, you need to know how the enemy operates. That's why everybody has the intelligence agencies. So this is how they operated. So it is the CARE, Council for American Islamic Relations. If they get out of picture, there are no resolutions in the past, none in Chicago, and there will be none in future unless they come up with another outfit. So know who is the prime entity responsible. Now, we also did a research on this organization, and we found out that this was a pre-organization to Hamas. In fact, the person who founded Hamas is the one who founded CARE. Fortunately, with internet, you don't have to go to the libraries and research it. Google will do the job for you. And that's what we did. We searched their background and everything, and we found out that this organization is banned as a terrorist organization in United Arab Emirates. And then we also decided that we want to expose them. So we took out paid advertisement, and Chicago Sun-Times, in Hindi we say, unko bhi mirchi lagane ki thi. They should have known that they can't call Hindus butchers and all those things. Then we are going to brand them as terrorists also, though using polite language. We exposed their connection to Hamas, and we found out the fact that in 2015, their head of the Dallas, what they had done was they had created a fake organization, 501c, called Holy Land Foundation. They collected the money in name of helping the people, and that money was diverted to Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood. Now, they were convicted, including the head of their Dallas office, and sent to jail for 65 years. So we exposed that. Then their role in trying to go against the Jews. So all those things were exposed, that these are not ordinary Muslim organization. This is part of terrorist organization. And now we are going to go a little forward. They were the ones who also endorsed Joe Biden. So saying that we are going to deliver you 3.1 million Muslim votes was too sweet for the Democratic Party. And that's how they got away with the Muslim plank and the Council for Religious Freedom. So now we'll have to take them up, and I'm thinking about strategy, how we are going to do it. I have some ideas, and we are going to implement them, hopefully to try to put them on the defensive. So we knew who our enemy was, who was the one who was instigating. So first time with services of Joe Moore, we were able to put a hold on this resolution. We had a Zoom meeting with Mr. Sawyer, who was the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. Now he betrayed us also. He said, okay, we'll put this on hold. And if it becomes active again, we'll let you know so you can represent your side of the story. But I have to tell you, don't ever think whether it is in Congress or anywhere, it's your merit that gets you the day. It's not an impartial judge who is voting how much money who has contributed, what kind of words are used. So many of these soft-hearted or left-wing aldermen, when they hear, oh, there is oppression, there is a racial discrimination, there is sexual discrimination, they jump on it. And these things are greased by money and by phone calls. And that's what happened here. Maria Hayden, the alderwoman who was the prime mover for this, she herself is a lesbian. In fact, in my tweets to her, I wrote that if you went to Afghanistan, you will not get any freedom. You'll be put under burqa. And once they know your sexual orientation, you will be stoned to death under Sharia law. But they get them. Now, after we are able to postpone it, suddenly we found out in February that 48 hours before the meeting of the Health and Human Services Committee, it was put on the agenda. And by the time we knew it, the meeting was over and it passed. And now these are Zoom meetings, not personal meetings. That gave us about 2.5 weeks because it has to be approved by the full city council. So we also studied the rules of city council and found that if at least 2 aldermen requested, then it can be moved further for a month. So clearly we needed some more time to think over and counter. So we met a couple of aldermen and requested them to put a hold on it for at least 1 month more. And that was successful. Alderman Brookings suggested it, and that is part of the rule. Nobody can oppose it. So it was put. That gave us about 4 weeks of time to try to fight out what was happening. Now, how do we get 26 votes? Or how do we not allow them to get 26 votes? So that was a combination. There is not one single thing that got us to the number of 26. Joe Moore, because of his association with the aldermen, he was able to talk to majority of the aldermen, convey our meeting. And what are the key points that we made to all the aldermen? Yes, we put them in our emails, but I don't know that who was going to read all those emails. Number one, that this was a very divisive resolution. People of city of Chicago with different ethnic backgrounds were living peacefully. And this is going to create a rift between the Hindu communities and the Muslims. So why do we need this divisive resolution? Second point, City of Chicago aldermen are elected to take care of the local problems of City of Chicago. They do not know much about India. And right now there is COVID, people don't have jobs, people don't have housing, people have need for food. So there are people who need roads. So at this time, why does City of Chicago have to worry about something happening 8,000 miles away? Now that was quite a bit acceptable to many aldermen And during their speech on the floor, they pointed that out, that we should worry about problems of Chicago than about that. The third point that we made was respect the democracies of other countries. India is a democratic country. Their representatives are elected. They make their laws, and please let them make their own laws, just as you would not appreciate other people commenting about what happens in Chicago and making laws and making resolutions. Please respect other democracy. And we said there are 206 countries in the world as per latest United Nations count. Every time there is an issue everywhere, are you going to jump in? It may be okay when there is no democracy like China or Myanmar and you do something, but when there is another sovereign democratic country, it is totally inappropriate. And some of the aldermen did buy that argument. Then we had to talk with Jewish organizations and others. They also joined in with us to try to denounce it. The other point was that this was all outright lie. No such things has happened in India. And this is all done by CARE. And this is a terrorist organization. How many bought our argument? We don't know. But I know that Alderman Irwin, with whom we sat down for lunch, I did give him all those papers. He carefully read them. So whether, many times they may not want to use those words on the city council, but we did request him to talk to some of his aldermen friends and see what he has seen himself and share with them. We don't know what exactly he shared with other aldermen, but he did speak on the floor of the city council. I also have to give credit here to the consul general. Initially, he was very inactive, but then he became active, and he did make personal phone calls to practically almost all the aldermen, and his position does carry some weight, and I'm sure all the other efforts added to it. Then we have friend Amrish Mahajan. Amrish was very active in City Hall. He's kind of retired, but he is a very good friend, and he helped out personally speaking to many aldermen. In fact, he arranged lunch meeting with at least 4 aldermen that I attended and tried to persuade them. Then we had some members of the community who had relationship with individual aldermen. For example, we have Harendra Mangrola. He's a business contractor. He knew at least 3 aldermen. He contributed to them, had business. So he personally lobbied with those 3 aldermen, and all those 3 aldermen voted for us. Same way, we had another person, Ram Chakrabarti. He had a factory in 22nd Ward, and he talked to 2 aldermen whom I knew, and those 2 aldermen voted with us. So you can see here that this majority was staged piece by piece by different efforts, and ultimately it became successful. Now, yes, our volunteers met quite a bit, and we also sought help from other people in the Hindu community who are good writers, like Satya Dosapati, Arvind Kumar, Suhag Shukla, then Sunanda Vashist. They wrote some blogs. Then we said, look, we wanted to use WhatsApp. Now in Kashmir, the terrorists were using WhatsApp to make the groups to throw the stones and attack the security. But we said that fortunately what happened, a lot of people put my name under different groups. And we have several other friends who are in similar situation. Amitabh is on many groups. Nirav is on many groups. Then Bailal is on many groups. Jagdish Suthar. So what we said was, let us carefully draft. It took us 8-9 hours to draft it. And I have to salute our young generation who are very internet and social media savvy. And I want to highlight their roles in detail. So I drafted a letter, 1 page, introducing what is the topic. Then we attached the second resolution, which was somewhat milder than, it was less poisonous, but it was still poison. Then we attached Satya's blog, where he had replied to every point that was raised. Then we attached the blog which highlighted the terrorist role of CARE.
So, Dr.
And that
Bhai, can
email,
I interrupt to ask you, what was because many people who are outside Chicago may want the context. So the question they will come up, either you or Amitabh ji can answer is, why did they come up with the second resolution? I mean, they had the first resolution. What was the difference for people who don't know? What is the difference? And did you have to work to, I mean, who engineered the second resolution, which was
okay,
very different from the first one, right?
So there's a quick answer
Okay.
on that is, Balaji
Yeah.
can give a detail on it, but the quick answer to that is the government in the United States changed. So the Trump administration was out. There were mentions of Trump administration. They could not use that anymore. So they took that out and they compressed their 8 or 9 points into one paragraph. If you read the point 8 of the new resolution, it's a very, again, there's a term that Bharatji used, sugar-coated cyanide pill. So that's what they did. They compressed it and made it a very tight capsule out of many different tablets. They crushed them, put them in a cyanide pill. It's a very craftily made resolution. So they're taking 8 or 9 points, putting them into just one number 8 point of the new resolution. Plus, the Trump administration is no longer there, so they cannot, attack the U.S. government and the current U.S. regime. That's what they called it. So since now their guy is in the House, so they have to take that wording out.
That itself kind of strange because didn't Prime Minister Modi meet President Obama and President Trump both?
That's what the city council fails to see, that we are for friendship and love and we're sharing. That
Ajay bhai,
Obama received the same courtesy, same hug right at the Indian Delhi airport. That Trump had to wait for that hug into Houston. Obama received that hug on the Delhi airport upon landing from Modi ji. That's the kind of love, and and Modi ji was a new prime minister then. He was just a new prime minister 6 months in, and he invited Obama to be chief guest at the India Republic Day celebration.
Sure. Now, this is important for our viewers who are outside of Chicago to know these details because they know the outcome, but they don't know all the hard work and all the nuances, the political nuances that went into it. Sorry, Dr. Rai, Bharat Bhai, please go ahead.
Okay. So the other reason was that resolution was so aberrant that many city council men, if they read it, they would have a hard time passing it because it was very dirty. I think some of the people inside realized that this resolution was very dirty. And I think some people in mayor's office were supportive of the resolution, but they thought that this was too caustic and it will not pass. So they said they agreed in principle to hate India and hate Hindus, but do it rather than using the same. That's my supposition. So they sort of made it from -10 to -5. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question, Ajay bhai.
I want to see it, but go ahead, please, Bharat Bhai, please continue.
So, but as I told you, don't be under ever illusion that these things are done based on the justice and truth. Unfortunately not. It is based on who you know. Like Jason and some of the aldermen, when we met, I said, look, right now I'm doing a COVID vaccine camp here at Manasya Mandir. We have done 6 such camps. We said, aldermen, if you want to do COVID camp in your constituency, let me know. We'll come there. We'll bring the volunteers. We have to grease this kind of things. Let's face it. The other thing that played part was, I mentioned about the friends. Some of our Christian friends, they also joined, and our Jewish friends, they also joined. There was one older woman, Silverstein. She has about 33% Jewish population, but she also has a high Muslim population. So she was going to vote for it. We tried to talk to her and she said, oh, we are under a lot of pressure. So finally we joined our Jewish friends. They called the rabbi in her own district, her own rabbi of the synagogue. And the rabbi personally talked to her. The mayor of Lincolnwood, who is an Orthodox Jew, he personally talked to her. And they made several Jews from her own constituency make calls to her. Our Jewish friend mounted a campaign on Facebook openly in our support. And they made some of the Jewish friends call. Now, ultimately, what we were able to get from her is that she was absent. But at least we took out one potential positive vote.
So I had a question in continuation of this, Bharat Bhai.
Yeah.
You mentioned that there was this intersectional effort with the Jewish community and the Christian community as well in Chicago. So tell us more about what role they played and how many aldermen were not just influenced by them, but what was the interaction that happened? You mentioned about the synagogue case. So what were some other examples of such interactions where other non-Hindu communities, non-Indian communities actually stood up for the truth and stood by us?
Okay, Sikhs did not have any role. Their name was used, Sikh Sevadal, but there is no Sikh Sevadal. It never existed. It doesn't exist. But these guys used it. So Khalistani Sikhs, unfortunately, have been anything that is anti-India. That's what Khalistani Sikhs are doing. But Sikhs really did not play any active role one way or the other. Vijay Prabhakar and some of his Christian followers, when Amitabh and friends demonstrated in front of Maria Hayden's office, they brought some of the Christian volunteers. Amitabh, you can talk more about it since I was not there, but you were there. The role of Vijay Prabhakar and Christian community in the demonstration in front of Maria Hayden's office.
That was just a quick plan. Within 24 hours, we decided we want to go and demonstrate inside her office, even though she doesn't come there on Monday. We kept our group to the required minimum under the COVID restrictions to make sure that if we exceed that number, we'll go across the street. But we had a trolley with the banners on it running in circles around her office with the and it would have been a better demonstration, but Vijay Prabhakar orchestrated that really, really good. And we had support from another group, Christian group. I'm not at the liberty of taking their name yet, but they sent out over 13,000 letters to their members, and many of their members also called in. So the tide exactly turned 2 days before the vote, where final numbers we are hearing is somewhere between 4-to-1 ratio of our people calling in saying don't vote on it versus one person from the other side calling in. So, but it's been since July, it's been that they have more people calling in. We have very few people because we were a small group of volunteers. But once we received the support from the largest Jewish group in Chicago area, Stand With Us, I can take their name because they authorized me, but with 60,000 plus membership. And then we have the support of this other Christian group with 13,000 members. These two groups turned the tide completely. They made so many calls and pointed calls to the aldermen. That was really helpful. So to message to the other cities is reach out to these organizations in your area before anything like this happens, because they will be really helpful. We are completely aligned with what is happening to the Jewish community in US being vilified. Is happening to the Hindu community in US being vilified. So we need to come together with these groups.
That's very fascinating.
Ajay,
just 1 minute.
Now,
sorry, please. Yeah, please.
I want to share with you another important component of the success, and that is our young generation who are very computer and social media savvy. I'm not one of those. I can use internet for medical purpose and news and other email, but these people, our young volunteers, they were fantastic.
So Bharatji, can I quickly say something?
Sure.
Here? Yeah, we cannot take their names for certain reasons.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to shout out from here, if they're watching, Koti Koti Naman to you, because that was one of the fears I had growing up here, that what about after me? Where's the next generation? And I was blessed to have these 7 warriors with us in Chicago who showed up, and they're doing tremendous work. They worked 8-9 hours in sitting with Bharatji, drafting, redrafting, and then going home and then staying up all night on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, you name it. They sent out these messages like it's unbelievable that these 7 people did, and they know who they are. I can't take their names, But my naman to them. That's it. Thank you.
And a cheer to them.
I absolutely echo what Amitabh said, but let me share with you now the modus operandi without taking their name. So it took us 8 to 9 hours to very carefully craft the message. Some of you got it on WhatsApp. But once it was done, at the bottom was one click. So with one click, message went out to 5 individuals or 5 groups. But many of them were groups. So it went to maybe 10 people, 20 people, 30 people. So in last 4 days, we were able to send out message to hundreds of people with a request that you share it with other people. And with that one click, all 50 aldermen will receive the email under their name. That was, so believe it or not, each alderman received between 5,000 to 7,000 emails, each alderman. And that was because of this automation process that we were able to automate our letter writing. One individual, tick, 50 aldermen get the letter. And below me, it was very easy for people to do. They read, oh, Bry has said this, read, boom, tick, and 50 aldermen get the email. So that's how we were able to get between 5,000 to 7,000. And on the floor of City Council, they did acknowledge that they read thousands of emails, most of them against it. So this is where we swamped them, the care.
The other message,
and
I
these
would
people
quickly say,
posted it
Bharatji,
on the social media, Twitter storm and putting it on the Facebook. So these guys are savvy, I'm not. That's why we have to credit, and we have to get our younger generation that is computer savvy, social media savvy to rein in. We design for them, we give them, like idea, and then let it be implemented.
So quickly, one more note. This is not a one letter to get 4,000 copies of. We had 17 different versions of these. So you're not feeling like that, oh, this is just a copy and paste job. So it will randomize every time you one click. It will send a different letter with your name, with your address, and it will change the paragraphs around. So there were 17 different versions of these letters that went out.
So that's really fascinating. I just wanted to ask one more point on this topic. In other cities, what had happened was that CARE and their Islamist allies waited until the last moment to do their resolution. So what happened in Chicago that they went ahead so early? Is it that the Hindu community is more connected, therefore they had prior information? Because in San Francisco, the Hindu community came to know literally on the day it was being passed.
Well, they tried that here too. If you remember what Bharatji said, the Health and Human Services vote just was a surprise for us, because we had a personal assurances that from the chairman of the committee that, oh, if it comes up, I'll give you enough time to bring it up, but I will make sure it never comes up. That was an internal promise, and he did not keep his promise. So that's what.
But in San Francisco, actually,
I'm going to sign off and join again. I have a little problem with connection.
Okay. No problem.
I'm joining again.
You're all good. We can see you. Yeah, we can see you. So in San Francisco, actually, till the last day, nobody even knew about it, and that was because they were able to work in the stealth mode for 7 months. And I think so. Did you have? How did you get the early information that this is even coming up in Health and Human Services Committee?
So I'm not at liberty to share that and on open media, just to let you know, and that's the answer.
Okay.
So that shows that this is a lesson for every city, the Hindu American community in every city, that the fact that this information was shared, even though it was attempted in a stealth mode, shows that having good relations and good connections and good outreach in general with the political leadership of every city is so critical. Because I think the failure in Seattle and San Francisco was that the Hindu American community obviously was not that connected to the decision-making process, because of which they fell behind in terms of responding. So 100 congratulations, 1,000 congratulations to everybody in Chicago for having the ability to do that connection.
And actually, let me just point one thing out. As you guys know, this is a dial-in show, and people participated actively in the chat. So Aarti Kaushal Chopra ji, who is interacting with us on the chat from YouTube, has commented saying that a lot of people have commented, but Aarti ji has said that great chat and dialogue, very informative. We need to know how to prevent this in other cities in California. So she's obviously she's writing from California, and she's looking for some guidance where people, the Hindu community may not have the same kind of reach and reach as they do in Chicago. So what guidance do you have for Hindu community in California and smaller cities in California, for example? And
Okay.
California has an even more substantial Hindu population. And RTG is saying, especially in Orange County. In Orange County, I mean, there's a lot of Indians in Orange County, a lot of Hindus in Orange County. So, what guidance do you have for people in Orange County, let's say the Irvine area of Southern California? So, Bharatbhai or Amitabhji, one of you may want to answer that.
Okay, there was one other point I wanted to cover. We will have to rise up, and just these guys are using fancy names to get things passed, like Council for American Islamic Relationship. Congratulations. We will have to be smart. So what we did in Chicago, we have started a 501c called US India Friendship Council. Remember, if we want to approach the aldermen and other people, or even congressmen or senators, if you can go as Hindus, it will have one type of impact. But if you want to go as if, look, your goal is same, okay? Goal is no different. You are just using a different vehicle to try to achieve it, because religious organizations many times don't get as much of attention as neutral sounding or US-India Friendship League, because whatever you want to oppose, you can do it in name of, oh, this will affect the friendship between the two countries. You realize how we can use it. So we thought that will be a smart way. You want to contact the congressman. Nobody is going to oppose and say that, oh, you are trying to promote friendship between the two countries. Hindus, they might say you are butchers. This you might say this, but they are not good. So the entire campaign in newspapers and everything was under the banner of US-India Friendship League. Now, we are the guys who control it, okay? But we don't put the Hindu name there. We want to do it as Hindu, then we do it with another organization. So you can have multiple organizations doing the same thing, but emphasizing from different angle. Now about the Orange County. You are going to need dedicated people. It's going to cost some money. As compared to them, we did not even spend 10% of the money. But we did contribute, because taking the advertisement in the newspaper and hiring Joe Moore, total, Amitabh, it cost us about $15,000 or $20,000.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So we had to come up money, and our members contributed towards it. And then you will have to get and plan it. And of course, be alert. If this kind of resolution appears, talk to me or Amitabh. We will guide you exactly where it is, what the city laws there are, and then try. It's like, you'll have to custom craft it. We gave you the idea how we did it in Chicago and pick up points. Many of them will be useful, but you will have to customize the response based on the population there, how much you are able to get support. I'm sure there are Hindus who have the money who will be willing to contribute, and have some organization on paper on standby basis that you can use. If you started, I would have done it as Bharat Barai or Amrit Mittal or so, it would not have worked. You had to have some sort of organization name.
Thank you so much, Bharatbhai. But one thing that needs to be underlined in this conversation is that everything that Dr. Barai suggested is actually also the truth. The resolution is not just anti-Hindu, it is anti-India. Therefore, the response has to address both the topics, because it not only targets American Hindus, which is how American Hindus would respond to counter it, but it also genuinely targets relationship between two of the biggest democracies in the world, which is America and India. So what Dr. Bharai just mentioned is actually a very truthful representation. And that is why it was so successful, because it was being carried forward by truth. So I think that is why it is important for us to understand that, these tactics that Dr. Bharai just mentioned, these are not tactics that are just coming out of thin air. These are tactics that are based on reality and the truth. And therefore, that is why the success was so easily achieved. And that is why also it was easier for other communities, both Jewish and Christian and other non-denominational communities, to stand behind us, because truth was on our side. But what needs to be underlined further is that truth is not the only thing, as Dr. Bharai so aptly pointed out before, that will carry us forward. It has to be astute political awareness, a strong sense of identity, and a strong response in terms of commitment, money, and the amount of effort put in to counter this resolution. These are very important factors that will make this happen.
Knowing
I
the
want
workings,
to add,
I'll add to
Amitabh,
that
just one second. Let me
Jai.
add one thing before you answer that, and maybe you can answer both of these together. I also wanted to ask you a question about what comment on what Utsada said, but also I wanted to bring in one more thing, and maybe you can answer both of it comprehensively. And that is, CARE is working under Islamic name. What is a compelling reason for us to not use Hindu name but use Indo-US Friendship Council? Because CARE is openly saying that they're Council of American Islamic Relations. IMAC is openly saying that it's Indo-American Muslim Coalition. So they're using Islam openly. Why are we using India?
Okay. I'm not saying that that is wrong. It can also be done under the Hindu name, but you also need a non-denominational name. I can tell you one thing, it is a disadvantage also doing it under the name of Islamic name. Immediately the Jews went against it. Okay? The Christians immediately went against it. So yes, they are doing it. I don't think that is very smart on their part, but that is how they are able to rally the funds from Middle Eastern countries.
May I interject, Bharatji? Let me just finish the thought here. So for the initial 8 months, CARE was never mentioned. Initially, it was Hindus for Human Rights and Chicago Secular Community or some other title. So they had these 26 names. CARE was not one of them. CARE was never one of them. CARE came out just the week before this vote was to come out, with their own message going out to their congregations in all the mosques area. So I will just don't call them a separate organization. They're closely associated with all their mosques, because they sent out a communication to all their mosques, which we received a copy of. That's how CARE came out in open. CARE is behind this. If you hear in Seattle, you don't hear the name of CARE. If you're in Alameda County, you don't hear the name of CARE. In Cambridge, you don't hear the name of CARE. In Albany, you don't hear the name of CARE. In Chicago, they were pushed by us 6 times. We pushed them back. So CARE had no choice but to come out in open. So the CARE name was never used.
I did hear the name CARE in Seattle, and I did hear the name of CARE in
San Francisco. The people our side mentioned, but on the resolution side, they were not mentioned.
IAMC also was very actively, openly involved in CARE, was openly involved in both those cities, actually. So in at least some cities, CARE was very openly involved. IAMC was openly involved, right?
Ajay Bhai, I have to partly agree with what Amitabh is saying. In Chicago, CARE was not openly, we suspected, that they were the culprit, but we did not have a proof. But when they sent out, actually, they have formed a group called train4india@gmail.com. So that was the smoking gun we got in our hand. They sent this email. So they have even a hit squad against India. And so they were the ones who were doing it. And when we got that smoking gun in our hand, we also gave it to some of the aldermen. So if you ask me, really, it's plus and minus both. It's not always plus, because there are people who may not say outside, not to look like bigot, but they hate Muslims too, among the Christians. That, this is all by the Muslim groups. They are always troublemakers. They are always complainers. So I would say if you do a multi-prong attack, just don't do it under the Hindu names. Look, you can control the same organization. Me and Amitabh are with US-India Friendship Council too. So you can be a member of VHPA and you can be a member of US-India Friendship Council. You control both organizations. So you can send one letter in their Hindu name and send one letter in name of Friendship League. Of course, with a different rationale that, okay, you are defaming Hindus. Another side, you are causing the bad relationship between the two countries. Some people will buy. It's like, GM has Chevrolet and it has a Buick and it has Cadillac. So you can do the things under more than one name with the same purpose.
And that would not be untruth either, because that is what often Indian American and Hindu American identities overlap. So that would be also a very honest way to do it. That's why it is very important to understand that everything that was done by our side was based on factual, honest effort, whereas the other side did use deceit, did use misinformation, did use untruth, and that's why eventually it started falling apart. The only goal here for our community is to continuously and very tactically, as Dr. Bharat Barai mentioned, very tactically understand the problem and then go about stepwise dealing with it. Amitabh, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to urge people to go and listen to the 7 different city council meetings where this resolution was brought in, or they were going to talk about bringing it up. You would hear whenever we called in, we were talking on facts. We never named any caste, creed, religion as a person who was causing oppression or anything other than care. I would give you that. We did point it out, care, but we did not blame any religion, caste, creed in our statements, because we were talking about, hey, this resolution part, this is false based on this fact. This part is false based on this fact. So this is away from fact. That's what we talked about. We never demeaned or chastised anybody in our responses. You can hear all of them, versus you hear the callers from the other side, and they're openly calling Hindus bigoted. They're openly calling Hindus racist. They're openly calling Modi a bastard in one of the meetings, and calling him butcher. And it is surprising that how a council person in the city of Chicago, 2-time, 3-time council person, can say that their reason for voting is just because Modi met Trump in Houston. That it is just confusing for anybody. Like, you're not going by the facts presented in front of you. You're going by some imaginary hate towards some person, and you're blaming an entire country, an entire religion.
Well, I wanted to ask one thing that probably comes out as a corollary question to this conversation that we are having here. Council for American Islamic Relations, CARE, which is a pan-Islamist organization, which is closely connected to terrorist group, including Muslim Brotherhood. Then you have Indian American Muslim Council, which is a front of the Council for American Islamic Relations. All those names we know are now out in the open. My question to both of you is, what is the role of, you think, Pakistani American community or Pakistani organizations as representing the nation state of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, or similar such nation state Islamic organization play in this? Did you see any initiative, any effort, any representation from their side in pushing the CARE narrative?
No, they don't do it openly. They would send their representatives. We know, and again, they should remain nameless, because that will be a legal issue to define. But we do know that somebody who's of 50-50 Pakistani parent, like most of the cases in India there are one parent is from Pakistan, another from India, and they stay Pakistan leaning. They would still, when they're calling in or they're writing something, they will become Indian, and then in the normal day-to-day life they're Pakistani. So that's what happens there.
Amitabhji, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to ask you. I think we lost Dr. Barai for some reason, but I'm glad you're still here. So let me ask you this: How did you deal with this? Because I looked at these two articles that came in Chicago Sun-Times, and I think these are pretty much a hit job on, and we got Dr. Barai back. So can you see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the first article that came. It is from an Indian American Muslim, Rumana
Again,
Hussain, and this.
without naming her, she is
No, just one
50-50.
second. One second. Yeah, yeah. You saw this article from Chicago Sun-Times from Rumana Hussain, and then this was before the council resolution was brought in, and before it was voted on rather, and then after it was defeated, this other article came out, and from Neil Steinberg in the same paper, Chicago Sun Times, and it says that it failed, and that is a moral failure failure the go-to move for Chicago City Council. So I think what is what is your comment on the role that the local Chicago mainstream media played on this issue, and what was your way of or strategy for countering that, or did you counter it at all? In the mainstream media, I'm not talking about the ethnic Indian press or any of that, but in mainstream media, when you see this kind of a complete hit job on Hindus, on Indians, what was your reaction and how did you counter it?
Okay, let me answer and then I'll sign off because I have to attend another meeting. Again, part of this strategy. It is for Hindu councilmen, but supported by the Christians. So I have to go to Naperville. So I will answer this. This lady, Ruhana Hussain, she is the daughter of a Hyderabadi Muslim family. She had talked to me and I was very suspicious, but I don't mind talking because what I talk is straight facts and nothing to hide. But I was very well aware that she is going to print what she is going to print. And at the end of interview, I said, are you going to be truthful and print, or you are simply going to write what you want to write? And she said, oh, this is an opinion I'm writing, so I can write what I want to write. I don't have to write what you say. Now, New York Times, Washington Post, some of this media, whether they get money from Muslim organizations or they pamper them, whatever they do, they are not for Hindus or for Jews.
Okay. Oh, Dr. Barai got disconnected. Amitabh, you want to continue?
So we did respond to it. There were several write-ups and letters to the editors of Sun Times that were sent out. I personally sent out my rebuttal to this, and we have Richa Gautamji from Denver. She sent a letter to Satyaji from New York, sent a letter. So we had 11 rebuttals that we sent out, and we had several people also call Sun Times editor and leave messages with the Sun Times editor, Steve Warmbier, that this is, of course, her article says it's a no-brainer because it was written without using any brains.
Hello. Sorry, I'm.
Dr. Barai is back. Dr. Barai, I know you have to go. So any final comments from you? We'll continue with Amitabh, but final comments from you.
I want to finish up the comment about this. So we knew that this is not going to be printed. Even Arvind Kumar and Satya, we sent their blog as a reply to Sun Times. They would not print it. We knew that. So we took paid advertisement. Now, reality is nowadays, very few people read these newspapers. Like Sun Times has a print circulation of 98,000. So we did counteract their point, but we had to spend money to try to get our point across. But again, you realize those 26 votes did not get swayed either by her article or by our advertisement. I enumerated to you how piece by piece we collected those votes. So all these things are, many times we call it, it is like treating the doctor rather than patient. We feel good that we wrote this blog, counteracted it. We took advertisement, counteracted it. But did that bring us any votes? I doubt it.
That's an
So
excellent
just be realistic how we win the battles. I went through this at time of US-India nuclear treaty. So I have quite a bit of experience how to count votes. And that's what ultimately So remember, our people in Orange County and everywhere should know that plan in a tactical manner how to get the majority votes. And you can be Shivaji and Rana Pratap, but you have to win the battle.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
I just wanted to add
very
that
well
we
put,
have
Bharat. That is very, very well put, very aptly put.
Yeah.
Ajay bhai, I just
Hello.
wanted to add that we have Maya Durga here, my daughter. We everything that Dr. Baraid, Amitabh ji, and everybody who is working so hard to do everything, it's for people like her, so that in future they don't
Okay.
face discrimination.
Rani Lakshmi Bai.
And we are trying to secure and give a good equal right to their future, so that they don't feel discriminated, they don't get attacked for who they are.
Utsav, anytime our help is needed by any other community, myself, Amitabh, and a lot of our friends will be happy to share our toolkit with them. Okay, I'll sign off. Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you
So,
so much, Dr. Baraid.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Amitabh ji, we'll continue with you for
Yeah,
a few minutes.
quick note here.
Amitabh ji, go ahead, please.
One quick note here. What Bharatji says important is we're getting surprised while the other side is not getting surprised or springing the surprise on us. Why? Because the other side or the people who are behind it, we know they care. They have their lack of better words, or that is the word, operatives in every small, big city council. Every small, big city council. And they are not hiding their intentions of belittling us, pushing us aside, or hitting our self-esteem any point they get. They have done recently in Maryland. They've done to us in Chicago also. So they're, give you a simple example. If I want to celebrate the 26th January in Chicago, I apply 2 weeks in advance, and it takes us at least 3 days to get a permit for March, peaceful March, celebrating India. And the other side will get a opposing rally hours permit just an hour before our rally is supposed to start. Yep. That tells you we need to have our people in the city councils. We need to have our approach in not the US Senate and Congress. The city councils are very important moving forward for all Hindus in America.
Ji, I want to, that's a point very well made. I want to kind of a little bit surprise you, but not as much. I think that the speech that you made as a testimony in front of the city council was exceptionally well made. And for many people who are our viewers, as I said, this will go to at least 5,000 people. I want to play this for them, because I think everyone should kind of, hear what you said at the Chicago City Council. It came from the bottom of your heart. And I think, the points you made were really well made. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that speech, if you don't mind, because it is something that everyone in the community should hear. So please listen to this. Amitabh ji talking at the City Council meeting during the resolution.
Is Amitabh Mittal.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, Mayor. My name is Amitabh Mittal. I'm a resident of city area Chicago for the past 36 years. I am calling and requesting all to vote no on Resolution R 2020-583. You will hear there are words like fascism, Nazism, and nationalists, which will be loosely thrown around against the world's largest working secular democracy and world's third largest religion. Let's ignore such hurtful words and focus on positive. R 2020-583 was first proposed in August 2020 with condemning Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. And since then, it has evolved and is adding various laws that have been passed and vetted by the duly elected Constitution Assembly of India, Parliament of India, vetted by the Supreme Court of India. First, is the city of Chicago going to debate laws of a sovereign democratic secular nation, which is 8,000 miles away, or concentrate on issues of managing city of Chicago during these pandemic times? Valuable time of this council has been consumed by discussion on this topic since August 2020. This resolution has created a divide amongst the people of Indian origin who reside here peacefully for the past 5 decades, while the leadership, which is supposed to bring the peace and harmony, is discussing this hateful resolution. Citizenship Act of 1955, which was drafted by stalwarts like the India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the writer of the Constitution of India, and the first Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, with approval of the first Premier of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, an Assembly of Pakistan, and United Nations. Provision of this law expired in 1955, leaving over 2 million people stateless. All that Citizenship Amendment Act, which has amended the law, is to allow dignity to 2.5 million people to apply and get citizenship while they were living in India for 70 years stateless. This sugar-coated cyanide resolution, R2020, has been sponsored by religious extremist groups. It is highly deceptive title, honoring India while it's full of hate and false allegations against secular democratic India, its institution and mandate of 1.35 billion citizens. In words of Paul Harris, the founder of one of the world's largest service organizations and a native of Chicago, let's take the test. Is it based on truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? In my opinion, this resolution fails on all 4 accounts. I humbly urge you, request you, and appeal to your inner conscience to do away with this hate and lie and vote no on Resolution R 2020-583. Thank you so much. God bless America.
Amitabh ji, very well put, very well articulated, very emotional. Any comments?
You know me, Ajay ji, for a very long time, and I don't write things. I just say what I want to say, and it comes out. And it was a good thing that I wrote this down. You can tell because I was reading it, and I was, lost in some points. But it was a good thing that the next generation said, no, आपको ये लिखना होगा, क्योंकि आप क्या बोलेंगे, कितना बोलेंगे, because once you start talking, you cannot stop me on this topic. So it's a good thing I wrote it down. Like you said, it came from my heart, and I literally typed it in less than 5 minutes. I typed all that up to send it to the next generation to approve my script. And I was so happy that they approved what I wrote. This is my point. People are, one of the articles that came out yesterday or day before also mentions this CAA as the people don't even want to go in the full form of what CAA is. And it has a very important word built into it. It's a Citizenship Amendment Act. It amended something that was already there. It was not something new that was created. It amended. What did it amend? It gave a provision back on that form of citizenship application to India that was removed on January 1st, 1956. So some injustice that was done on people who arrived in India after December 31st of 55 was actually solved by this resolution. It's not a moving forward resolution or amendment act. The provision of this ended in January 31st of 2014. So this is not something, a new law that will continue to be applicable in India. There are new refugee status, citizenship, asylum requirements that are already there. So all it did was the people who are living, who were living in near Delhi, a place called Majnu Katila, some people living near Jaipur, and some people living in Gujarat. For like I said in my speech, 70 years stateless. Fourth generation. They're born in India. They married in India. They've gone through the whole process. They still can't call themselves citizens of India because, as the Constitution of India was drafted, they said even if you apply for OCI, if your parents are from these 3 countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, or Bangladesh today, you cannot get OCI. That's because of the Indian Constitution. So these people who were living in India, grown up in India, all their life is in India, they were living in India stateless. All the CAA did was giving them dignity. And I don't know why people don't understand that point.
And also it is also meant to give refuge to people who are persecuted minorities in the countries which are in which they are persecuted. I mean, the fact that the Hindu population in Pakistan continues to suffer week after week, day after day. This is a way for the Hindus there to seek refuge and to come to a place that is safe for them and for safe for their children.
Yeah.
And I
You
think
realize you have
and to
23%
oppose that,
population of a country reduced to less than 1% in Pakistan. You had
yeah, not only
2.8
that,
million Sikhs who were living in 1947. Today, they're 6,143 according to their own official data. What happened to all the Sikhs? What happened to all the Jews? Is a famous word of a UN representative of Israel who asked the Arab countries, "Where are your Jews?" So we asked the same thing to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. Where are your Jews? There are 0 Jews in Bangladesh that they wanted to include in this resolution. There are 150 some
and actually
in Pakistan and 1 in Afghanistan.
and that
Actually,
is why
the last Pakistani Jewish also left Pakistan a couple of years ago, and so did the last Afghan Jew left Afghanistan. But see, what is really interesting in this whole conversation is that this is a changing of the tide, I must say, and this is turning the tide back from what was a falsehood-based narrative building in America. And I think what Dr. Barai and Amitabh Mittalji just pointed out, it is not the last of it that we have seen. I can assure you that we will see more of this in other cities because of the nature of the organizations that we are up against. At the same time, I believe, and I think we all believe, those of us who are listening to us, we all believe that we will be able to counter them from now onwards much more efficiently, because now we have seen how it is done. And in many other cities, I must warn people, just because in Chicago it was Council for American Islamic Relations, doesn't mean that every other place it will be the same organization. But it will be certainly a group of organizations that are well connected to each other, that have the same agenda, and that have the same goal of maligning Hindus in America as much as they are interested to malign India as a country. So one more thing I wanted to add to this conversation is that in this entire discussion, we saw that it was about CAA, which is the Citizenship Amendment Act that Amitabhji was pointing out. But in previous resolutions and in future resolutions, I must add, they will try to keep adding more and more things, because it is not just about CAA, it is about Hindus and India. So whatever they can grab at, they will pull in Kashmir, they will pull in, you never know, they might actually go back all the way to 1947 to pull something out of their behind.
So that they're already adding farmers' issues to this.
Exactly.
So it is everything in the kitchen sink, right? I mean, anything, any news item, anything that happens.
They added NRC to this. They added farmers bill latest to it, and they talked about the 370-35A that was already packaged in there. So it started with CAA. It evolved.
You see everything added to this, because there's a template where there is you can keep adding subsections to it, and that's all they're doing right now.
And that is why I asked
the real target is really Hindus in America and the next generation of Hindus in America. It has nothing to do with CAA. It has nothing to do with India. And IMA, Indian American Muslim Council, and CARE have decided that they are going to tear down Hindus and everywhere they find. And they're taking, and we have talked about this in past. I mean, they're behind a lot of the anti-Hindu activities that are going on in America. I also want to, Amitabhji, I want to please stay online. We want to move on to the next topic, which also you will find interesting. And that is the good news of the week. As we introduced this news segment a few weeks ago, and we always share, and we ran out of time this time, but we'll talk about more in detail next week on this. But this is certainly another good news of the week. I misspoke here. I should have said, New York swastika bill withdrawn. Spelling mistake. That's what happens when you do things live. My spelling skills are tested. But New York swastika bill, for most of you who know about this, we've been talking about this in the show, that New York State Senate had brought this bill last year and was going to bring, and they're trying to bring it back this year. I believe it is resolution 2727, if I remember correctly. This was to designate swastika, noose, and some other symbols as hate symbols and teach in schools that these are the symbols of hate. Now, the Hindu community in New York, and including Hindu Pact and Kona and some of the other Hindu organizations got together, HSS, a lot of other organizations, a lot of Hindu organizations got together and really started this campaign that said, look, Hitler never used the word swastika. We did a whole show for an hour on this. Hitler always used the word Hakenkreuz, or the crooked cross. And to say that swastika was used by Hitler to begin with is factually wrong. Swastika has been a symbol of sacredness, of good, for a very long time in many, many different cultures. And there's a need to disassociate Hakenkreuz from swastika. And after a lot of effort from a lot of Hindu organizations, including Hindu Pact and World Hindu Council of America, or VHPA, this particular bill was withdrawn because, again, it was a divisive bill. It was a bill that was meant to divide the Hindu community from the Jewish community, although that was not the stated intention of it, that was going to be the end result. So Senator Kaminsky, who was the author of the bill, we had a meeting with him. We had a meeting with Senator Thomas and other people, and they saw it that saw that what we were saying was actually really true. That these are the kinds of bills that really are not good for interfaith relations. They're not good for Hindu kid who's going to school and whose friends come to visit and they see a symbol swastika in their house. This is not good for communal harmony in America. And eventually, this particular bill was withdrawn. So that is the good news of the week. Any comments, Utsada? Any comments, Amitabhji, before I move to the next segment?
I think we need an educational part on this swastika issue. There have been people who've been our Hindu Americans who have suffered because of this misunderstanding of, I'm not belittling it, but because of this promotion or narrative that the swastika is the Nazi symbol Hakenkreuz, a lot of Hindus, business owners, small retail shop owners, who end up getting some product from Bharat, which has the swastika symbol on it, ridiculed. Even there was a news story some years back in Indiana. NBC reporter, she went into the Indian store. She used to go there all the time. And one time she goes there, she sees this wall decoration which had the swastika on it, which is very auspicious to us. Next thing you know, she puts it on the news and says, this store is promoting hate towards Nazis, towards Jews, and Jews should avoid this store. I mean, that is creating a divide amongst Hindu and Jewish community and creating a misunderstanding of Hindu Dharma with the Jewish community. And that kind of thing happens a lot. And we have to come up with a program where we educate on regular basis what swastika is and do not use the word swastika for the Nazi Hakenkreuz symbol.
Exactly. Very well put. Moving on to the next segment, our Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week. So here is the intro music for that, and then we talk a little bit about the Hindu Seva Act of the Week. And I want to nominate the Seva Charity Act of the Week as Support a Child, a project of our own World Hindu Council of America. Yesterday, for those who watched it, there's an amazing show called Pancham Redefined. This was the show that talked about that had original music composed by this group, Pandit Subhen Chatterjee and his group. And they recast a lot of narration history. They recast the music of Rahul Dev Burman, And it's an amazing show to do the fundraising for Support a Child. This show is going to be up only for today, and then we are going to take it down. So you can go to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our Twitter channel to watch this for one more day. Again, this show was meant to raise funds for Support a Child. Last year, the goal was to raise funds for 3,500 children in India, and that goal was met. This year, the goal is to raise funds for 3,900 kids, and we are well on our way. So please do go to supportachild.org, supportachild.org, and make a donation. It's a really worthy cause. Please do donate and enjoy the show. It's going to be up as a replay only for next few hours. If you have not seen this, you've really missed something. Pancham Redefined, a show by Suben Chatterjee and group. And Utsala, you'll be glad to know there were some Bengali songs also in there. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it. And please, while you're there, make a generous donation. It's only $250 a year. That's $20 a month. I mean, $21 a month, not even. So please open your wallets, open your hearts, and donate. You can support more than one child, but it's a really worthy cause. Anything you want to add, Amitabh-ji, Utsada?
No, Support a Child is very near to, again, our heart. Due to COVID, we were not able to hold our annual fundraising for COVID, but Chicago still sends the support in the numbers where it matters. The checks will be going out from Chicago. All the donors we have contacted, our Sanjay Bhai Shah and Anita Shah, who are responsible for managing the Support a Child project in Chicago, are working really hard on this. And yes, and you said about the Bengali, you cannot have Rahul Dev Burman songs without any Bengali songs in this. That doesn't,
Sorry,
that's automatic.
that's automatic.
and I would say, I just realized Ussavda looks like a little bit like Rahul Dev. So
There you go. So
you have that look.
I want to move on to the.
I have to take a break. I'm at
Yes,
remote
we're
location.
going to talk about a little bit about Chicago. If you want to stand there
Okay.
for another 30
Quickly.
seconds,
Okay.
you will like this. Amitabh-ji, you will definitely you'll like what we're going to say next, and that is we give a drum roll to the next segment. The Hindu phobe of the week. The Hindu phobe of the week. This one is a strange one, and it's a really sad one. Utsada, you want to probably talk about this because I think you are considered for this particular one. You are actually considered somewhat local. So tell us about what happened when Hindu Pact and VHPA tried to join the rally on violence against Asian Americans. Now remember, we did entire show on violence against Asian Americans a week before the Atlanta event because we saw the trends, and we did this show. And then Indian community, there was an event in your home state. Please take it from here. And then Amitabh-ji, please add a couple of words on this. Go ahead, Utsada.
Well, this unfortunately also brings in our usual suspect in the game here, which is Council for American Islamic Relations, CARE, our quote unquote friends from the Muslim Brotherhood who really love to hate us. So the rally, Stop Asian Hate Rally, was held on March 24th, 2021 in Columbia, which is a small suburb of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So it lies right between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, has a very thriving community with a lot of Asian population, including Indian Americans, very diverse. And in the rally was organized partially by a bunch of coalition of different organizations, which included Muslim organizations, Christian organizations, Jewish organizations, And of course, Indian Cultural Association, which was led by Sanjay Srivastav, which was also trying to participate in it. And it so happened that Hindu Pact, which, like many other religious based organizations of Asian communities, was interested to join it, because we genuinely support the situation that needs to be amended here, where Asian Americans are facing discrimination and often violent physical attacks. So when Hindu Pact approached to join this rally, they were shut out and stopped from attending by Council for American Islamic Relations. And I think that is also an indication of how much hate this organization and many of similar Muslim Brotherhood linked Islamic organizations carry towards the Hindu American community. And just excluding a community which is from Asia from a rally in support of Asians is itself, an extreme show of bigotry and hatred. And to get away with it is even worse. So I think a lot of Indian American organizations and a lot of American Hindu organizations are coming together to expose this bigotry that is being promoted by some of these Islamist groups. And Sanjay Srivastav, who is the president of Indian Cultural Association of Howard County, has been very aggressively and rightly so reaching out to lawmakers who carry a proper conscience, hopefully. And we are trying to make sure, and I'm personally not playing as much of a role in it yet as many of the members of our local community are. But
we should thank Mahendra Sapaji for taking the lead in this.
Yes, Mahendra Sapa, who is the leader of our World Hindu Council of America in the Washington DC region, he has been spending hours and hours of efforts to educate people and to share this kind of discrimination within the community. And I think something good will come out of it. More importantly, there will be increased awareness within the communities in Maryland about that.
We should compliment Indian Cultural Association there.
Yes. So Sanjay Srivastav, as I mentioned, the president of Indian Cultural Association.
They withdrew in support for Hindu Pact. So Amitabh ji, any final words before we close out the day?
Quickly wanted to say that in their hate, they are now breaking laws. They have just broken the First Amendment rule. Discrimination on the basis of religion has been committed here. And I had a conversation with Sanjay ji last night. I had a conversation with Mahindra ji. This is breaking the law, breaking the U.S. First Amendment. And that means these people have no respect for the U.S. laws. Do the U.S. Leadership want to be associated with people who have no respect for the Constitution of the United States in their hate for a very peaceful, very contributing community in these United States? Every sixth doctor is an Indian origin doctor, and 99.9% a Hindu doctor. I want to remind people, and we keep forgetting, on September 11th, 10% of the people who were killed by the Islamic terrorists were Indian Hindus. 289, their names are etched on the wall over there in New York at the Ground Zero. But 289 out of 2,900 people were Indian Hindus who were killed that day. What our silence is taken as cowardice, and I think we should not stay silent anymore. And shame on these this county officials and the people. And of course, definitely they are Hindu phobic. There are you have the apt word for them. The Hindu phobe of the week is the county administration of Herald County, who objected to participation of Hindu Pact and Vishwa Hindu Parishad as in this rally.
Thank you, Amitabh ji. And with that, we come to a close on today's program. Thank you, Amitabh ji, for joining. Thanks. Please convey our thanks to Dr. Barai. Utsada, Maya, thank you for joining. And namaste. And we'll
Namaskar.
with our outro music. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you.